Welcome to the Lifelong Rivals Sports Podcast. This is the second part of our NFC breakdown, and we're going to get straight into the breakdown. So moving on, we've got the NFC West up next. I'm going to start out with the Seahawks. I think they're easily the top of the division there, and then there's a significant drop-off. But Russell Wilson, fun player to watch. I like rushing quarterbacks like that, as we talked about with Cam Newton. I think it's fun to watch. It makes he makes a lot of plays there. He's obviously a good passing quarterback as well, which has been great to see. I'll be curious how the running back situation shakes up. They've got some different players there with Thomas Rawls, who's had success before. Eddie Lacy's been kind of up and down. CJ Procise.
Real quick, does Eddie Lacy not have like the best life right now of anyone on the earth? I mean, he gets paid bonuses to lose weight. Zach, will you pay me $1,000 if I get down to 240?
I don't quite have that
All
sitting
right.
around for you
but
there.
I mean, that's living right there, man.
Yeah.
Like, I'm a guy that, look.
That's motivating.
I could lose some weight. I could get back down to my high school weight. And if someone came to me and said, Ryan, I'm going to pay you, I think he's getting like $250K to get down to his like weight loss goal. If someone did that, I'd quit my job. I hire freaking whoever to
chef, a trainer.
I'd hire all these people, dude. But he's living the life, man.
I'm interested to see. I hate seeing that from a mentality perspective. That's what it takes for him to really want to push himself and be better. That he's got to be.
You can't keep it under
motivated.
control all year.
Yeah, I have my doubts on how productive he'll be. I think he might have some games where he's good, but not anything reliable. CJ Procise is also there. He's going to be more of a passing back. And then Chris Carson's done some good things in the preseason. The Seahawks seem to rotate a lot of running backs, so I could see him getting some action. But I think they're all on the positive side there at the running back position.
Who do you like most out of the running backs?
No question.
I love Thomas Rawls. He was actually at the University of Michigan. I don't know if you knew that.
Did not realize that.
Started his career at the University of Michigan. Remember it very well when he was there. Had trouble kind of getting to the top of the depth chart, so he transferred and obviously went to Central Michigan and finished his career there. So, this is a guy I've seen play a lot, and I really like the way he runs the football.
He's done well when he's got opportunities. I expect him to take over this lead running back position here, but I think they'll still mix in everyone there. They do that pretty consistently, getting some different running backs action. And then the receivers I actually like as well. Doug Baldwin has been very, very good. Paul Richardson made some crazy catches towards the end of last year. He's got some good athleticism. I think he takes a step up this year and could be someone to watch. And then Tyler Lockett, incredible athlete. Yeah. Incredible athlete. He should be their returner again. He just makes plays, especially long plays. And then Jimmy Graham, one of the most reliable tight ends that we have in the NFL. He's also there. I love this offense. Their defense is consistently up at the top of the defenses in the league. I really like this team. I think they're going to have a lot of success this year. I actually have them as 13-3.
Wow.
Best team in the NFC.
Wow. Okay. The big thing with Seattle, if you remember, they're going to take a big step forward then in your eyes because they've finished 10-6 the last 2 years. And if you remember, the reason they finished 10-6 the last 2 years is both of them seasons, they started off the season really poor and really had to pick it up middle of the season and through the holidays and into the playoffs. I don't think that's the case this year. I kind of am more on your side. I think they start out the season a little better. Their opening schedule isn't as difficult as it was in years past. They have to go to Lambeau week 1, but then after that, it's pretty favorable for the most part as we go into October and in November. So I'm going to put them at 12-4. I don't think they're going to. I don't think they're going to be as bad as they were the last 2 years. Well, as bad. I mean, they weren't bad, but I don't think the record is going to be what it was last year.
Yeah. My biggest reason is Russell Wilson. He was dealing with a lot of health issues, especially last year.
Exactly.
And I think I think that should be better for him, that he doesn't have to deal with that as much throughout the season.
By dealing with that, too, it really limited him early on with how much they wanted to run with him, the read option that he likes to do at times. And, yeah, he was kind of a liability out there at times. So, I like Seattle. Definitely the class of this division still do their thing on defense back there. So, I put them at 12 wins this year.
So the Cardinals is the next team I'm gonna get to. They're a team, I like some of their pieces. They have one of the best running backs in the league with David Johnson. He's gonna be, I expect him to be the exact same and stay at the top of the league. I love Larry Fitzgerald. He stays around. He stays consistent. He just keeps on being good. I'm
pretty sure he had 100 receptions last year.
You cannot count him out.
I think he had 101, if I remember correctly. Because
he's about to turn 34 at the end of August here.
Wow.
You are exactly correct. He had 107 receptions last year, over 1,000 yards, plus 6 touchdowns.
Wow.
And for anybody, that's very productive.
Yes.
But especially someone that's been in the league since 2004. We talked about Anquan Bolden at the beginning, that he's been playing since 2003, and he just retired. Meanwhile, Larry Fitzgerald coming off a 1,000-yard season and still continuing to be productive.
Yeah, look, the thing with Arizona is you have to ask yourself, do you think this team is more like the 7-8-1 team that they were last year, or do you think they are the 13-3 team that made it to the NFC Championship game 2 years ago? Where do you think they fall in? Are they more likely to finish around 500? Are they more likely to finish around 11, 12 wins?
I think they'll be more in between there.
Yeah, I think they I think this is kind of a 9 I'm gonna pin them in at 9-7.
They just had so many injuries last year at their secondary receivers beyond Larry Fitzgerald. That John Brown, he had health issues.
Right.
They had Jerron Brown came in and did some good things and then got hurt. J.J. Nelson, same thing. He did some good things. He got hurt. I felt like they were constantly cycling in different guys. They drafted Chad Williams this year at receiver as well. So they have all of those guys I mentioned have been productive. They've proven they can be solid receivers. If they can stay healthy, I think this can go back to being a premier passing offense. Carson Palmer's still there.
Can
He's
it be
solid.
though with Carson Palmer? That's my question. Age is really starting to be a concern with him, as is health. You wonder where they're going to go after him. I'm not so sure that if you had $100 right now, and someone came to me and said, Ryan, $100, Carson Palmer finishes or plays all 16 games this year. I couldn't take that bet. I don't think he'll play all 16 games.
He played 15 last year. He played 16 the year before.
Which is wild to me because it feels like he hasn't.
It was 2014. He only played 6.
Okay, it's pretty mind-boggling to me. I didn't realize he played that many. I kind of just have the impression of him constantly getting banged up, and so I wonder about that. That's still in the back of my head, and that's part of the reason why I'm just not as high on them.
Because he was a big reason of their drop-off. That he went from 2015 having 35 touchdowns, 11 interceptions, over 4,600 yards, and then it dropped down to 4,200 yards, 26 touchdowns instead of 35, and then more interceptions, 14 compared to 11. So I just felt like last year was kind of an off year for him. I don't think he's continuing to regress. That he'll be better than what he was last year. I felt like he was really disappointing last year, and that's something he'll be able to turn around. He's younger than someone like Tom Brady, even though he is 37. So I feel like quarterbacks are playing longer now. I think he can rebound and be solid and bring their offense back to what it was.
Did you see? I think it's the Cardinals because it's a pretty funny story. I'm actually going to look that up real quick. I want to actually see if I'm actually correct here. No, I'm not. Actually, yes. No, I am correct. It was him. So actually, do you know who their quarterback coach is? One of their quarterbacks coaches is?
I definitely don't know.
You don't know this guy. It's classic. He's a classic player. Byron Leftwich.
Interesting.
Byron Leftwich is their quarterback coach.
I remember him from when I was when I was younger, probably like middle school when he first got drafted, I got one of his jersey cards in a pack.
Nice, from Marshall. He's from Marshall.
Yeah, I was so excited about that. For a couple years, I thought it was my most valuable card, and then he didn't really. He didn't really live up to expectations.
He has like the longest release ever. Like he'd like bring it from like his hip and like over the like his release was wild.
He stayed in the league for a while, being back up in Pittsburgh for quite a few years.
It's funny because he.
That's funny name drop.
I think Carson Palmer might be older than. No, he's not. He's not older. That was the running joke when he got named. It was.
They're the same age.
They're the
He's
same
37.
age. Okay, so they're the same age. Yeah, that's classic. That's awesome. That's awesome.
And he played 2003 to 2012. So he stayed around in the league for a long time. He was a number 7 overall pick in 2003. So that's why I was excited about getting his jersey card.
No, you should be.
That had to have been something like middle school for us.
Dude, I used to. It's funny. I was like really heavy into cards, into
I
sports
grew up
trading
on
cards.
that.
So did I, man. I used to have a bunch, like autograph cards, jersey cards. Man, that was like my thing.
Do you remember in elementary school when we'd bring him to lunch?
Oh yeah, always, dude. Always.
Shout out to Central Manor.
Yeah, CM on the map. That's right. No, but dude, and then with Arizona, their schedule is pretty difficult too to start out. So I think this team's definitely just right around 8-9 wins. So that's kind of something that I think they just kind of stay kind of stagnant, don't take that next step, so to speak.
Let's go to the 49ers. So we'll start
Yippee.
at the quarterback position. I think Brian Hoyer is better than a lot of the kind of mediocre quarterbacks around the league, the lower tier. That's not saying a whole lot that he's the top of the lower tier, but I think he's okay. He's had some success, specifically in Houston when he was starting there some games 2 years ago. I like Carlos Hyde. I think he's still going to be relevant there, even though there's a lot of talk about, at one point they were talking about he could be cut. I think he'll still be productive. He's one I think could move on after this year and be signed by a team that really could use a running back that might have some problems this year, have someone retire, anything like that. And then the receiving core, I'm just not very excited here. Pierre Garçon, from what I've heard, fantastic guy. He's been productive. He'll be their number 1 receiver, so he'll get good action, but I'm not that excited. Marquise Goodwin, he spent some time in Buffalo, which makes me feel like there could be
fast. He's a deep
could be
threat
upside.
that replaces Torrey Smith. I mean, he's really fast.
Buffalo just doesn't throw the ball and doesn't really throw very well. So there's a chance he could break out. I'm still kind of doubtful in that. And then Jeremy Curley has been their best receiver last year. I just, not that excited. Vance McDonald's their tight end. They drafted George Kittle. Maybe a couple years down the road, he could be interesting. I'm not very excited about this team. But kind of like I was saying with Brian Hoyer, I think they'll be on the high end of the bad teams.
Okay. No, I can kind of see that. Offensively, they don't do too much to excite you, obviously. I think Garçon will be a nice receiver there. He's going to get some looks. He was productive in Washington. I think he will be productive this year as well. I kind of like I like what they're doing as far as just an organization. Like they brought in John Lynch this year as the new GM to kind of get things on the right track, and I think he's kind of starting to do that with the draft this year, with taking Reuben Foster, and then they also took the kid from Stanford. I'm totally blanking on his name. Oh, geez, defensive lineman. Why can't I remember his name? Solomon Thomas, that's who it is. Solomon Thomas, they drafted from Stanford as well. He's a very good player. So I like what they're doing on defense. They have some really good pieces there with Eric Armstead, another young guy they drafted a few years ago out of Oregon. And, on the back end, they got Jimmy Ward and Eric Reed at the safety position. So I like what they're doing, and I like the direction they're heading in. I think John Lynch is doing things the right way, building through the draft, which that's the way you win nowadays. Really, you look at all the successful teams in the league, or the teams that are trending in the right direction, and it's not from free agents, it's from building through the draft. So I think they're doing the right thing, and I think that they will steadily get better each and every year, and then once they find that long-term quarterback solution, that's when it'll kind of all come together. But as far as this year, man, there are going to be some growing pains, but I would actually agree with you. And I think you worded that really well. I think they're going to be one of the better bad teams in the league. I think that's accurate. It's funny to say, but I think it's accurate.
Because that's exactly where I have him. Another name to look out for that I'm intrigued is Joe Williams that they drafted this year, backing up Carlos Hyde. I think he could get some action during the season, especially if it starts to really go downhill. He could be a guy to watch out for your fantasy leagues to add at the end of the season. If he takes over for Carlos Hyde, either Hyde's been injured before, if he has some kind of problems with that, if he's just not being that productive, that he could get some actions and win you a playoff game, win the championship potentially.
Look, he was really good at Utah, so I mean that's definitely a player that could definitely take a step forward this year and be a nice little surprise.
And that's a guy they specifically wanted there. So he was drafted in the 4th round. I'll be intrigued to see how he's used throughout the season, but he has a chance to be kind of that late season sleeper for different teams if you're playing fantasy football. I have them at right around 6 and 10.
Yeah, I'm more inclined to go like 5. I think 4 or 5 wins is kind of where I have them. So I don't think they quite get to 6, but for the main reason, Zach, and I think it kind of will snowball then after that, is the beginning of their schedule is brutal, man. 4 of their first 6 is on the road. And that's not really how you want to open up the season with a guy like Brian Hoyer and a team that's kind of rebuilding. So, and I think they'll get some losses on their belt, and that'll just kind of snowball. So,
they're a team I could see them pulling some upsets, though. Probably not a lot, but maybe 1 or 2 that you don't really see coming.
As long as it's not the Eagles, I'm fine.
I'd love to see that happen, but I'd still. That is a game the Eagles would lose.
No. They did it a few years ago when the 49ers, they weren't that good at that point. They came to Philly, and I'll remember because I'm pretty sure that the Eagles wore their black jerseys that game, and Westbrook had a punt return for a touchdown. That was like it, and they lost. And it was like, really? Like, really? It's the Eagles do. They always find ways to lose.
Was that the year they had a really good team? They went on a big winning streak? Because that's what I was thinking. That I'm pretty sure it was Brandon Lloyd was a hero that game.
It might have been.
He came out of nowhere. Yeah. He's a fascinating guy.
Brandon Lloyd.
He made some plays there in San Francisco. He dropped off for forever.
Yep.
All of a sudden, he plays with Tom Brady. He's incredible, and then he drops off again.
As probably you would be if you played with Tom Brady. I mean,
I don't know about that. It's hard to put me on that level. But yeah, he was a fascinating guy to me. How his career just was very up and down, but just 2010 with Denver, actually, he had 1,448 yards and 11 touchdowns.
Fantastic.
So that's what I was thinking, where he had the monster year. I forgot that was with Denver there. But then when he went to New England, he had 911 yards and 4 touchdowns. Easily in the top 3 seasons of his career. He played 12 years there, 2003 to 2014.
Yep.
And 3 years over 900 yards. Everything else was way down. So fascinating player. But I specifically remember that when he was with the 49ers and made some plays there against the Eagles late in the season. So last team to touch on here is the Rams. And I'm very fascinated to see their quarterback position. I would love to see if Jared Goff takes a step forward.
No shot. Sorry, he's not. I don't like Jared Goff. I don't. Do you think he has a chance to be something in this league, or?
I think he has a chance to be better than he was last year.
I'm already writing him off, and I know that's bad to say after one season, but I wasn't high on this guy coming out of college. He was a system quarterback. He played at Cal in the air raid offense where, I mean, he wasn't even running a huddle. He wasn't calling the plays. He wasn't doing anything. I mean, and the fact that he was the number 1 pick in the draft over a guy like Carson Wentz was kind of mind-boggling to me. And oh, by the way, the Rams traded up to get him. So I'm not high on Goff. I really don't think he's going to do much, but
he'll have his chance there.
He takes a step forward this year.
I think he was awful last year.
He was bad.
I think he's going to be better than that. But the thing working 100% against him is they have a full new coaching staff now.
Yep.
So I don't know if he's gonna be someone they want long term. he might just be, you give him a chance temporarily, he doesn't work out, you move on, even though they invested all that into him to trade up to take him number 1 overall. He's got to show something. He's got to step up from last year. He was bad last year.
He was terrible. He was absolutely terrible, and I
More
wasn't
interceptions
surprised.
and touchdowns. He did play 8 games. Just I think he'll be better than that. That's all I got for him.
I think the big question though is, will Todd Gurley be better than he was last year? Because he had a big year 2 years ago. Everyone's talking about him being a top fantasy option last year. The people that did draft him high regretted it. Had a very bad year. Does he get back to where he was last year? I'm a proponent of. I think maybe he'll be a little better, but I don't think he gets to where he was 2 years ago.
No, I do not think
the
he'll
big
be
reason the offensive line's bad. I don't know if you've looked at their line recently, man, but their offensive line last year was poor. Really didn't do a whole lot to improve that unit going into this year. They really didn't do a whole lot collectively as a team, really, if you look at them as a whole.
They made moves. It just wasn't
they're kinda,
anything that's
I just kind of
franchise changing.
Right, I kind of just see them as the same team they were last year. Like, I kind of do.
They fully made over their receiver positions, but I still don't see that as a significant improvement.
Right.
They just paid guys a lot of money and made a trade for Sammy Watkins. I think the reason Gurley doesn't get back to what he was 2 years ago is Jared Goff.
Exactly.
That he's just, even if he takes a slight step forward, I don't think it's going to be significant enough that teams don't have to just focus on Todd Gurley as the number 1 piece.
Like, if you're a defensive coordinator, okay, we got the Rams coming to town this week. Who do we stop first and foremost? It's Todd Gurley.
No question.
And that will be that from week 1 to week 16. So
yeah, their receivers, it's a lot of guys I am not big on. Robert Woods was a whole lot of mediocre in Buffalo. He goes to another not good passing offense. No excitement there. Sammy Watkins, he was a guy I invested in last year in one of my fantasy leagues. Probably never going to do that again. I'm just like, he has such a hard time staying healthy. He's a great athlete. He has good skills. But even so, I don't like him as easily the number 1 option there. They don't have other people to take off pressure. One guy I do like, Cooper Kupp. I think he could be a very reliable kind of slot receiver.
Good hands, yeah.
Get a lot of receptions, especially first down, maybe around the end zone. That he gets a lot of action. I don't think he'll be any kind of a deep threat at any point, but he could be someone that's reliable from the start. Tavon Austin, don't care. He'll make some cool plays,
right?
But
that's about all he does. Plus, he got an extension.
He did. He was another they threw a huge amount of money to, but he'll make some plays. They'll use him in some different ways. It'll be fun to watch that, but he's just not going to be consistent, not going to be reliable, just like he has every single year of his entire career.
Exactly. I mean, that's the book on Tavon Austin, which I'm not sure why they gave him a contract. Maybe it's to kind of just keep an exciting player around and put butts in the seats and sell tickets and jerseys. I'm not sure, but I mean, you have 2 teams in this division, in the Rams and the Niners, who we just talked about, who neither are going to be very good. I'm really low on the Rams this year. I'll give them, because their defense isn't bad, so I'll give them 4 wins. I think they'll sneak out 4 wins somewhere in there.
I've got them in 3.
Okay.
Tavon Austin is signed till 2021.
It's crazy. He has that kind of job
That's
security.
outrageous.
Like, he has that kind of job security.
Yeah,
that's crazy.
I'm sure they'll be able to cut him at some point and save some money, but they filled in all those other receivers. And that's another one, like we talked about with Jared Goff, where he was drafted under a previous coaching staff.
Right. Pull up his stats. I'm curious to know, like, what's the most touchdowns he's had in a season since he's been in the league? He's been in the league how many years? I'm going to guess. I haven't looked. How many leagues has he been in the year? How many years has he been in the league?
He's played 4 years
4 years.
now.
Okay, I'm going to say the most touchdowns he's had in a season is...
Are you going total or receiving?
No.
Okay.
No. I'm going to go receiving. Or no, screw it. We'll go both, because he does rush the ball a decent amount.
What about returning? Are you including those?
No.
Okay.
Because that's just a totally different part of the ball game.
For that, I'm going to give away the answer real quick.
So,
1 punt return touchdown per year, except for last year, 0.
So I'm going to say rushing and receiving, the most touchdowns he's had in a year was 5.
That's the most receiving touchdowns
really?
he's had in a year.
Okay, wow. What was the most total?
Most total was 9. He had
Wow.
5 receiving,
That's
4
more than I thought.
rushing.
That's actually, obviously, because I said 5. That's way more than I thought. Okay, wow.
Yeah.
But
So-
if it's not for the rushing, I was right.
Correct. And that's clearly an anomaly season. The previous year to that, he had 0 receiving touchdowns, 2 rushing. He, as a rookie, had 4 receiving, 1 rushing. He had that 9 touchdown season, 2015. And then last year, he had 3 receiving, 1 rushing. So his second best was his rookie year with 5. So you would have been right if it weren't for that one anomaly season.
Right.
And that's what earned him that huge contract extension.
Ridiculous.
I was surprised he didn't have more return yards or more return touchdowns. He's never had a kickoff return touchdown. He has had 3 punt return touchdowns. He's an explosive athlete, kind of player I like to watch. But
you ever watch his YouTube highlights from college?
Not from college.
Dude,
I've watched some of his pro stuff.
Dude, check him out, dude. At West Virginia, dude, his highlight tape is ridiculous. They're really ridiculous.
I'm sure.
Just a really big benefactor of just the fastest guy on the field. And then when he went to the NFL, everyone's fast.
Yeah.
So
There's a lot of other fast guys.
That big step up. But yeah, dude, his college highlight tape is ridiculous at West Virginia, man.
So now that we got through that, and what did you say for their record?
The Rams, I said 4.
You said 4. Okay, because I got them at 3-13 there. So now that we got the end of the NFC West, we are getting into our division.
Let's do it!
Containing our favorite teams here, the NFC East. Well, I'll let it up to you. Where do you want to start here?
Let's go Redskins, Giants, and then either Cowboys or Eagles.
Sounds good to me.
So we'll do it.
All right, so Redskins, I think they're good to go for this year. I'm fascinated to see what happens with Kirk Cousins moving forward. If he ends up somewhere like San Francisco, that's one of the rumors that they're just trying to kind of hold over the position with Brian Hoyer and then fill him in next year. So it'll be interesting to see in the future. But he'll be there for this year. He's been very good. I have liked what Kirk Cousins has done. He's someone I underestimated at one point. I didn't think he'd be that good, but he's kind of done more than what I thought he would. At running back, I'm just not sold there. Rob Kelly is he's all right. Samaje Perine was their draft pick. They seem like kind of similar players. I'm not excited at running back there at all. I like what they've done at receiver. Jamison Crowder is one of my favorite players going into this year. I think he's going to be very good. I like Terrell Pryor, that signing. That's another that they only signed into 1 year. He could be gone again next year. So this could be an entirely different team a year from now. But while they have him, I like that combination of Crowder and Pryor on the outside. And Jordan Reed is another guy I like as long as he's healthy. That's one thing I'm not sold on if he can stay healthy. Josh Doxson's also there. He was a first-round pick. I'll be interested to see if he does anything.
Year,
yeah, he's another like Laquan Treadwell we barely mentioned with the Vikings that just both of those high picks didn't do pretty much anything as rookies. So it'll be interesting to see what they have. I just have them as kind of a mediocre team this year.
It's pretty cool how you mentioned, real quick, I'll get back to one thing you said, and it kind of just shows you kind of how similar our opinions and the way we think about sports are. Is you mentioned Jamison Crowder, one of your favorite players. Likewise, actually, Jamison Crowder, one of my fantasy sleepers for this year. So if you took our advice last week in our Final Thought segment, which if you're new to the program, that's how we close out every show with our Final Thought segment. We told everyone to go out and sign up for your fantasy football leagues. He's actually one of my sleepers for this year, Jamison Crowder. A little fun stat, one of the reasons why I do like him so much, he actually led the league in red zone targets last year. Which was a stat I was really kind of dumbfounded by. The fact that he led the league in red zone targets, had a red zone touchdown in the last preseason game for the Redskins. So, just wanted to touch on that briefly, like Jamison Crowder. And I do like Pryor for 1 year on kind of a prove-it deal. Two things to me that kind of worried me about the Redskins. some holes in some important places. Running back, defensively, they're kind of thin in some areas. Offensive line, they seem to kind of shuffle. They're okay there. And then the schedule. I really worry about the schedule the first half of the season. If they can kind of get through that, the second half of the season sets up nicely for them. But I mean, they play the Eagles to start. They play the Raiders. They play the Chiefs. They play the Eagles again. They play the Cowboys, and they play the Seahawks. So I mean, they have a really tough first 8 games of the season due to the Redskins. So Cousins, you kind of hit the nail on the head. He's kind of silenced all the critics and has put up numbers. I mean, what more can you ask? I mean, I'll put it this way. It's not Kirk Cousins' fault the team hasn't done better.
Not at all.
I mean, it's not his fault. So they're just not getting it done in other aspects of the game. So
I'm just so fascinated at their whatever the deal is that they're refusing to sign him long term. It is difficult.
Well, they tried. He turned it down. He turned their contract down and wanted to play on the one of my best friends. Do you know Travis Jones, right?
Yeah.
I used to work with him, and he went to our high school and everything. He's a big Redskins fan. He's into sports just like we are. And I asked that. We're in a fantasy league together, and we had our draft a couple weeks ago. And I said to him, we got there a little early. We were just bullshitting, and I was like, dude, like, what's up with Kirk Cousins? I've been hearing a lot of reports. Like, are you hearing anything different than what I'm hearing? He's like, yeah. Like, I was like, what happened? He's like, yeah. So basically, Cousins turned down the contract for them, wanted to play on the the franchise tag again. 1, because he would get a nice chunk of change again, and then 2, next year he's guaranteed to get. I mean, he's guaranteed to get a huge contract next year.
Oh yeah.
With the way that, because he can't get franchise tagged again, so he's guaranteed to hit the market. And the way the whole quarterback situation is in the NFL, someone's definitely going to pay him.
Yeah.
So if you think about it...
We saw it last year with Brock Osweiler getting
point.
a monster
That's
contract.
A great
and
point.
he's far better than him.
Exactly. So, I mean, if you think about it, Kirk...
And the franchise tag, $24 million he's making this year.
Exactly. So not only is he making bank, he's going to make bank next year, and he's going to go somewhere where he's the guy. So...
Because it's so hard to find a high-end starting quarterback in the NFL that it's going to be rough if the Redskins lose him next year. They're easily going to move to the basement of the NFC East.
That's the thing, and where would they go after that?
I got them at 8-8 this year.
Yeah, I'm gonna put them at, because I actually think they finished last in the division this year.
Interesting.
So
I'm gonna disagree.
I'm gonna put them at 7-9. I'll put them at 7-9. So that's where I go with the Redskins. Like I said, they finished last.
So we'll move on to the Giants from that point. I actually had the Redskins third there.
Okay.
But we'll go into the Giants.
Yeah, I wonder you have finishing last.
Can't wait to get to that. Surprise. But anyway, the Giants, I don't like Eli Manning.
Thank you.
Do not like him at all.
Like him as a player?
As a player.
Okay, yeah.
I don't know how he is as a person.
Right.
I'm sure he might be a nice guy.
He looks like a moron.
I know there's that whole deal with him being a diva when he got drafted and he wasn't going to play for the Chargers.
Right, I hated that.
That was annoying, but like he might be a great guy for all I know. It's completely possible. But do not like him as a player. Turns the ball over so much. But I'm a little torn with this team because they added some good new weapons. And I'm intrigued to see what they end up doing. They've got Odell Beckham back. He had a little bit of an injury scare, but it sounds like he should be fine to go this year. I like them bringing in Brandon Marshall. I think he's going to have some success, especially when they need a first down in the red zone, around the end zone. He's able to go up and get the ball over guys. Sterling Shepard is a guy that was very good as their number 2 receiver last year. Now he drops to number 3 after bringing in Brandon Marshall. I will be interested to see if Evan Ingram can get some playing time. He's a fantastic athlete. They drafted as their tight end, but I don't know if he'll get action from the start. I think that could be something eventually down the road. I'm not sold on their running back position either. Paul Perkins, he was all right last year. They've got Shane Vereen, more of a receiving back. I don't know if Paul Perkins is going to take that step forward. I don't see it. I think he'll just be okay and not a huge kind of game changer. So I'm down more on this team, even though they were 11-5 last year.
Yeah, I'm kind of down on the Giants as well. Not a ton. Look, talented team. They spent big last year on the defensive side of the ball. It paid dividends. They took a big step forward defensively last year, which is the reason why they did go to the playoffs and did have some success. It wasn't because of the offense. It wasn't because of Eli Manning. People want to talk about like how much success he had, or how much like success they had last year. If you actually look, like Eli Manning really didn't have a good year last year, even with the weapons he had. He really didn't play well. They didn't have a running game. And Eli might set a franchise record, or maybe even an NFL record for most passing attempts this year. He may throw the ball 500-600 times. I mean, really.
Well, I mean, the last 3 years, 601, 618, right, 598.
Okay, so 700. That's the number I'm looking at. He may throw the ball 700 times because they literally don't have a running game. I don't think Paul Perkins is the guy. He's going to give you attempts because, I mean, you have to run the ball somewhat. So, I mean, he's going to be the one that just fills in and takes up space. But, you know, Beckham, obviously, he's a freak. What he's been doing since he got in the league is unprecedented. Marshall, I'll be honest, I'm not as high on Brandon Marshall to the Giants as a lot of people are for a couple reasons. One, he's getting older. He had a good year 2 years ago. Last year, he took a step backwards, granted because of the quarterback situation had something to do with that.
I see him as similar to last year Anquan Bolden with the Lions.
Yeah, I think he might give you something like that.
A veteran, they use him a lot around the end zone.
Around the red zone. He's a big target. He'll probably help when they get down there. And then Sterling Shepard and Ingram gives them some nice, mismatch opportunities. But I think this team goes. What they go 10-6 last year, 11-5.
They went 11-5 last year.
I'm gonna actually give them 9-7 this year because I think they actually finished third in the division, actually behind our two teams. Obviously, that goes without saying now because we've covered two of them. So, and the big thing too, I don't like the start of their schedule. Because look, when you're making win-loss, man, you have to look at the schedule. And this is another team that starts 4 of 6 on the road at the Cowboys, at the Eagles, at the Bucks, and at the Broncos. Dude, those are some tough games to start the year. Your home games in between are the Lions and the Chargers. I mean, no kind of rollovers either. So if they start out struggling, that could really kind of hinder them. Plus, they play Seattle. They have to go to Oakland later in the year. Yeah, man.
And this division's tough. There's no teams that are really terrible, bad. Like a lot of these we've gone through.
Yeah.
And there's no Bears in here or Rams or 49ers in this division. All those games are going to have to be hard fought.
Exactly.
So we're heading to the Cowboys next.
All right, let's do it.
So the biggest news with the Cowboys is Ezekiel Elliott's suspension.
Yep.
I really don't see it hurting them a lot.
Don't say that. Don't be that guy that says that. Oh, God, I thought you were better than that.
I try and pride myself on
so
doing
what does that
pretty
mean
well.
Exactly. You have to elaborate because not hurting them, like what does that mean? Like not going to lose them games, or their running game still going to be as effective as it was? What does the not hurting them mean?
So 2 years ago, Darren McFadden was the starter, who's assumed to be the starter again going into this year. He had over 1,000 yards. He was reliable. He was fine. He nowhere close to Elliott's level, for sure. I'm not saying he's there at all. But with their offensive line and with an above average backup like that, they can still do very well. I think they're going to rely a lot more on Dak Prescott and making plays there. I don't think they'll be 13-3 like they were last year. I think they will drop off from that a little bit. But I still like what they have. I think their defense is going to regress. That's the biggest thing that scares me. I think they overplayed what they had last year. That they were far better. They really caught me by surprise. I thought the defense was going to be towards the worst in the league last year, and they had quite a few guys step up. They lost some defensive backs this year. So going into this coming year, so that'll hurt them. And I think they played better than they were last year, and they take a step back. So I still have the Cowboys as first in the division. I just don't think it'll be as dominant record-wise as they were before.
Yeah, I kind of echo the same sentiment. I think they'll probably win the division again. Just kind of with the offensive line, the talent they have at skill position. It's all going to come down to Dak Prescott, really. I mean, is Dak going to be the guy that we saw last year? Does he have a sophomore slump? Does he take a step back? Or does he prove that, hey, I'm kind of here to stay, and you know, me taking over for Romo wasn't a fluke last year. This is my team. Kind of as we have some major storms going out as we're doing this podcast, which is pretty cool. I just keep seeing lightning out of the corner of my eye through the window. So, but no. Yeah, look, I would definitely echo the same sentiment as you, kind of top to bottom. I do think the defense kind of does take a step back. I definitely think they caught lightning in a bottle last year. Most of that success piggybacking off the fact that their offense was so good, time-consuming, scored a lot of points, didn't put them in bad situations. So, yeah, look, I think they'll win the division. I think they'll win the division with a record of, I'll say 11-5.
Okay.
I think because they were 13-3 last year,
yeah,
right?
13-3.
Yeah, I think they lose 2 more games, albeit the tougher schedule and Zeke being out. As of now, it's 6 games. Obviously, that could be reduced with his appeal, but yeah, I just think defensively, I mean, they're really replacing some guys that were kind of key for them last year, replacing them with a lot of young guys, a lot of rookies and whatnot. So yeah, I give Dallas 11 wins this year.
I'm actually one win lower than you. I got in the 10-6,
Okay.
so I still have that as number 1 in the division.
Okay.
That they'll win the division. Another concern for me is it's become almost when Dez Bryant gets hurt.
True.
What else do they have there at receiver? Like Terrence Williams he's reliable at what he does. He'll make a play here and there. But he's not a number 1 receiver at all. Cole Beasley, great slot receiver.
Yeah.
One of my favorite players on the team.
He had the most receptions on the team last year. He was Dak's favorite
I wouldn't doubt
target.
it because Dez had some injury issues. He was kind of up and down at one point, and then had a real strong finish to the season. But I love Beasley. Also, not a number 1 guy though. If something were to happen to Dez, so that's where I feel most risky. Even considering the quarterback position, if Dak Prescott would get hurt, I feel like it's a big step down to the next one, but I'd still be even more concerned with the Dez Bryant injury. So I was fascinated that I ended up being a little lower on their win total than you right there.
And I gave them more wins. Right. Well, look, and like we said, look, I hate the Cowboys. I've hated the Cowboys since I was a kid. Funny story real quickly. We had a family gathering. I don't think I was any older than maybe 10 years old, 8, 9, 10, somewhere in that time frame. Having a little family gathering down. All my family lives in Delaware. And it was a Sunday, so the Eagles were on. We watched the Eagles and everything. And we go to take a family picture. And me at that time, obviously I was young, so I stood in the front. And my uncle, who's another big Eagles fan, he hands me a T-shirt to hold up, and he says, "Don't look at it, just hold it up, and we're gonna take this picture." So I'm like, "Okay, no problem, Uncle Bobby, cool." So we take the picture. I don't find out what's on said T-shirt until I actually, and at that time, we're 10 years old. That's when you had to develop film and actually wait like a week or so to get the pictures back. So we get the pictures back, and I'm like begging my parents. I'm like, "Did we get the pictures? Can I see the picture? Can I see it?" And they're like, "Okay, you can see it." And so the picture is me holding a shirt with a big Eagles logo in the middle, and then around it says "Fuck Dallas." So I mean, that's how the hatred for that team runs deep in my family. But I don't let the hatred kind of cloud my judgment when I'm talking about sports. I give them respect they deserve. They had a great year last year, and there's no reason why they shouldn't be another good team again this year. I mean, really. I mean, they should be. So.
That's a very entertaining story. They started you young like that. I was not quite on that level,
right.
But
that was a little extreme.
Shout out to Grandma Marge.
Nice.
My grandma has always been a huge Cowboys fan.
I remember that.
Taught me that from when I was little. She took me to my first Cowboys game when I went down. It was still Emmitt Smith was playing. I remember he was my favorite player there. So we saw them play the Cardinals in Dallas in their old stadium. So she really got me started with all that. My mom's also a Cowboys fan, so shout out to her.
Is that your mom's mom?
Yeah, that's my mom's mom on that side. So I grew up right that way. That's how I grew up a Cowboys fan. Among all my friends being Eagles fans just outside of Philly here in Lancaster, Pennsylvania. But shout out to Grandma Marge.
Grandma Marge.
So
brainwashing Zach since the ripe age of how old were you? Probably a young kid, right?
I'd say I specifically remember being a Cowboys fan in first grade. So 100% before that.
There you go.
So not sure when exactly, but first grade I was definitely a fan.
Awesome.
So, you ready to get to the worst team in this division?
Go ahead, let's do it. I thought you had them finishing first. Going from worst to first this year, man.
Not quite. I actually have them as the exact same record as last year. They finished 7-9. I do like Carson Wentz. He did some good things as a rookie. All of their offseason additions on offense are suspect to me.
Okay.
LeGarrette Blount, he was in a great offense. I think that really propelled him to the stats he had last year, all of the touchdowns in New England. I feel like he's going to be a disappointment in Philly. I like Darren Sproles. He's a very reliable guy out of the backfield. He's done exactly that for many, many years with the Saints, now with the Eagles. I think he's going to be a more reliable running back for him as they go through the season. And then they brought in injury-prone receivers. Alshon Jeffrey, he's been very good at points. He's been very injured at points. Torrey Smith, he really dropped off. He's a guy I enjoyed at one point watching where he could just take the top off the defense and really, really beat people downfield. I have my doubts that he's still that guy. He's had some injury issues. He's had some down seasons. Nelson Aguilar, awful last year. I don't know why I'd expect he's going to be better. I do like Zach Ertz. I think he's going to be the number one option, the number one consistent producer out of those. I think some of the other guys, specifically Jeffrey and Smith, might miss some games. I do like Zach Ertz. I think they're getting better on defense, but I've got them at 7-9, bottom of the division.
Yeah, look, I think they take a step forward. Not a big step forward, obviously, just because I think the reason they don't take a huge step forward is mainly because of their schedule. I mean, the NFC East plays the AFC West, and obviously vice versa. So, the schedules for all of those teams is pretty difficult. So, I can't say they're going to take that big of a step. They were 7-9 last year. I think they actually get a couple more wins, and I'm actually going to give them 9-7, and for a few reasons why. One, the Alshon Jeffrey signing, I get where you're coming from, but it was only a one-year deal. It is, hey.
I like them taking a chance like that. I respect that.
Prove it. If you play well, guess what? We're going to lock you up long term. You'll be here, and you and Wentz can build something special together. Torrey Smith, from all that I've been reading and the people I follow, all the Eagles writers and stuff, he's still the same guy. The big reason that he wasn't the last couple years, you got to remember his environment. He was in San Francisco with no quarterback to speak of.
Yeah, that is true.
The plays that he did make were over-the-top plays where he did get and beat the defense deep. And then the offensive line is solid. Ertz obviously all reliable there. He's done some really good things, building a good relationship with Carson Wentz. And get to Wentz, I love Carson Wentz, man. I really love that guy. I love him as a player. I like him probably even more as a person, dude. I mean, he's the kind of guy. I hope he continues to just get better and better, and he's here for the next 15 years. I really want this to be the guy, and I think he is the guy, and I think he takes another step forward last year. I think this year, last year was imperative for him to start all 16 games, get the experience under his belt, and I think he takes a step forward this year. The big part to me, you kind of touched on it, is the running game. Like, I don't know where they're going to go. I mean, they really can shuffle four guys in there between Blount, Sproles, Wendell Smallwood, second year back from West Virginia, and Donnell Pumphrey, who they brought in, fourth-round pick from San Diego State. So, I mean, they can shuffle in a lot of different guys, but that has me concerned. Like, I'm not a big fan of the whole running back by committee thing. I usually like having one guy and then spell him for another guy. That's usually how I like to do things. So that worries me. Defensively, I actually like what the defense is doing. Corner has been a shaky position for the Eagles since Asante Samuel left, but
that That's a guy I love to watch.
Dude,
he was
I
on the
love him.
Eagles. He was on one
I
of my
love
most
him,
hated
dude.
teams. He was such a good player. I
Yep.
loved seeing how he anticipated
Good
plays and
instincts,
just
right?
an incredible playmaker
Yep.
on defense.
One thing with him though, you get him with a double move. He
That is true.
he
He
tries
does-
to
he
jump
did
the
it a
route,
lot.
and you can get deep on him. But
But
dude,
that's what you take with him. He made so many
Exactly.
plays that easily made up for getting burned
sure.
from time
Yeah.
to time.
And I mean, that was a while ago. Like, that's for like 08, 09. It's been like 7, 8 years since this team's had a legit cornerback. They go out, they trade for Ronald Darby. They give up Jordan Matthews. I really like the addition. He actually has an interception in his first preseason game. So I think he'll obviously improve the secondary. The safeties and the front seven, I think, are strength of this team, actually. And I think they're going to show that this year. The pass rush, I think, will get after the quarterback. And Derek Barnett, the rookie first-round pick, he's really making strides. He actually might start the year as a starter. That's kind of the way that's trending. So I liked it. I'll put it this way. This year, agree. The Eagles, they're not going to do anything special to blow you away. I think they win 9 games. You think they win 7. But I'll be honest, I think they're moving in the right direction. I'll put it that way.
I'd agree with that.
I think they're
they
moving
are
in the right
coming
direction,
up.
and they're trying to do it the right way and building through the draft and signing some free agents here and there. But yeah, so that's where we stand. Cowboys, I think we both agree, win the division. I have the Eagles, or I have
the Giants second.
I can remember
just
who I
ahead
had.
of the Redskins and then the Eagles.
Right. So yeah,
we both agreed Giants would be 9-7, and then you said Redskins would be 7-9.
Right, and then I said that the Eagles would be 9-7 too. So I think the Eagles actually win the tiebreaker there. So I actually am going to give the Eagles second place in the division.
No.
Yeah, I am. Why not? Dude, listen. So if I have the Eagles at 9-7, but if I have both teams at 9-7, why wouldn't the Eagles get the tiebreaker? They actually, if you look historically over the last 6 years, they've dominated the Giants. They have. The Giants can't win in Philly. They can't.
Do you see them taking a wild card spot and making the playoffs?
Not at
So
9-7.
okay.
No, I'm
I
not
gotcha.
going to say they make the playoffs.
All right.
I think,
As long as
and
you're
it's
not
crazy
there,
to think,
for
but
sure.
I think only one team.
I still think you're crazy.
That's fine.
9-7.
I just think one team out of this division gets a playoff spot, not two, like a lot of people think. So, so yeah, that's where we're at. That's the NFC right there.
So
broke down each
NFC
division.
Championship predictions.
Right, we have to get our NFC Championship predictions.
I would love to see the Cowboys there. I don't see it this year. I have the Seahawks versus Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Wow.
I think they make a nice little run there with some of the players they have. And I feel like that would be a fun game to watch. But I would love to see the Cowboys there. I just couldn't put them there just because I'm a fan. I think they'll regress a little bit from how good they were last year and be close. I think they can win a playoff game. But we'll see what happens here.
I'm not ready to give the Bucs that big of a step that quickly. They will obviously take a step forward, like we said. I'm not going to put them in the NFC Championship game. I just can't. I think you kind of have to. I think they're building, and they will continue to take steps. A team that we are just completely on different sides here. The Falcons, I think they're actually going to get back to the NFC Championship game, and I think they're going to take on the Seahawks, who we agree on.
Fascinating. That's entirely opposite. I have them missing the playoffs,
I have them
losing
getting to the
record. You have
championship
them
game, right.
in the championship game. So
Exactly.
that'll be fascinating to see who is the actual person you want to listen to out of us.
Right. Well, I mean, we agreed on our AFC one, so we kind of had to disagree on this one. I mean, if we would have had the same prediction, that would have been ridiculous.
So what would you say are your teams you really want to watch them play this year? I'll go through a couple of mine here. So the number one that we've already talked about, Tampa Bay Buccaneers, for sure. I think that's going to be a fun team to watch, fun offense to watch. I also really like the Vikings. I'm intrigued by Dalvin Cook, what he ends up doing in that position there at running back. I've heard a lot of good things. He did well in college, so I think that could be a fun team to watch. And also, I'm very intrigued by the Seattle Seahawks. They're always great to watch. Their defense is fantastic. So they're high on my list of teams to look out for throughout the season that I definitely want to see play.
Yeah, I'll definitely keep an eye out for those teams for sure. A couple for me. Always like watching the Packers and the Saints on offense. Both quarterbacks just masterful back there. And both quarterbacks are both very different in their own right, which is fascinating between Rodgers and Breeze. But at either time, each team can score 40 points at will. So I always do like watching Rodgers and Breeze kind of put on a clinic. And then another team I think is one of the more fascinating teams, like I said, in the league is the Cowboys. Kind of just what's going to happen with Ezekiel Elliott and Dak Prescott. Is he going to take a step forward? Does he take a step back? Does he have the sophomore slump? And then where do they go with defense? So they're an interesting team to me. So they're definitely a team that I
didn't include them, but 100% I'll be watching them.
That I want to keep an eye on for sure. So yeah, that's definitely kind of how we're gonna kind of finish things up here with our NFC breakdown. Anything else you want to add as far as football? As far as football goes?
Nothing else for football.
Okay.
I got a quick final thought. Because I can't stop listening to this song.
Okay.
I'm curious if you have any songs you feel like really stand out to you. But Glow Up by Meek Mill. Always on the playlist. Always in the car. Getting me hyped. That was just a real quick final thought.
And you use that as our intro. And you use that as our intro for...
no, that was a different song.
That was a different one. Okay. I knew that was a Meek Mill beat, though. I'm pretty sure it was, wasn't it?
No, that was actually the truth. So he was.
I thought that was a Meek Mill beat for some reason. Oh, well, never mind. Okay,
no,
so I was way off there.
Yeah, for sure.
What's the Meek Mill song called?
Glow Up. If you don't know it, check it out. It's a fun song. Get hyped
I'll have to check it out.
And Meek Mill, shout out to Philly.
That's right. I love Meek Mill. I like Meek Mill kind of before he got with Rick Ross and that whole crew, like back before he was like kind of mainstream, like his mixtapes and stuff. Like I was really high on Meek Mills before he blew up, but no, I definitely check that out. A song that kind of gets me fired up too, that I'm really in love with right now, and I can't even remember who sings it. I just downloaded it from the title because I actually heard it in a Michigan football's Twitter feed. I actually like posted a video of like practice highlights, just like a little like 40-second clip, and this was the song that was playing. It's called "Every Day We Lit." Have you ever heard that?
Oh yeah, that's great song.
Dude,
great song too.
I love that song. Dude, that song, that's a good one. Like that's to me right now, that's the song that I've probably played the most over the last week. So
all right, so some high quality recommendations. That's just kind of some highly off-topic final thoughts here for today, but that's what we do.
And if you're listening to this out on YouTube, comment below in the comment section and give us some songs that you guys like to listen to.
I'm always down to add them to my hype list.
Exactly, something new, something old, whatever the case may be. Always interact. Feedback on the show, like, dislike. I don't even care. Give us input.
Let us know what you think.
Exactly. Let us know what you think about the show. You can reach out to us directly for sure. Get after us on Twitter, on social media, anything like that you think will help us out. So,
and like we said, follow us on YouTube, on iTunes, whatever works better for you.
Exactly.
If you have any suggestions on that, I'm not that great technologically, so
sure.
I'm kind of figuring things out. I know we'll be adding a logo coming up here soon, so we have a lot of things coming up we're very excited about, and we'd love to hear your feedback.
And spread the word. I mean, if you like what you hear, if you think we're dropping some good knowledge here and it's an entertaining podcast, spread the word. Tell your friends, tell your family, tell anyone that you know is involved with sports that thinks this will be a good listen. So help us get it out there and share it. And you got anything else for us
next week? Talking about college football.
That's right.
Should be a good time. Then we'll hit an NFL preview, season preview, just before the season starts.
Week 1 preview. A week 1 preview. Right. Next week's going to be
college.
We'll
still throw in some season predictions.
Sure.
It'll be a good time.
Absolutely. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to next weekend, Zach. I know I'm a bigger college guy than you are. So I'm really looking forward to the college breakdown for sure. And that's going to be 1 week closer to football. So good show tonight, man. I think we brought some good stuff. We shortened the show a little bit. We didn't quite go as long by what?
It'll still break down into
minutes.
2 parts.
Yeah, it's still going to break down into 2 parts. But we did cover a lot of ground. I mean, going in depth on all 16 AFC or NFC teams. So
early on here, it's going to be more in depth.
Yeah.
I don't expect them all to be quite this long.
Not at all. I would totally agree with that.
All right, well, it's been a good time. Like we said, follow us, hit us up, let us know your thoughts, and enjoy your week.